excited to get ready for Austin P. Another home game, another home opportunity for our team. A lot of respect for this team. They played a good Middle Tennessee team and jumped on them and played really well. Done a great job with their program. Been through some injuries last year that probably hurt them, but they've got a good group coming in to play us. Our guys had a really good practice yesterday. I thought we had good energy, enthusiasm, made some corrections, and then worked on us and worked a little bit on Austin P as well. So looking forward to this week.
Your hand, bring the microphone around to you.
Yeah, Kirby, going back to Saturday, how would you evaluate how your offensive line played, especially acknowledging that two guys were banged up early in that one?
I thought they did some good things in the run game. We had some play action pass mishaps between them, the backs, and coordinating some calls. But pleased to guys that stepped up and played. We were able to play a lot of players in the offensive line, both out of necessity, but also out of getting a lead. So it was really good to get a lot of experience for guys to go in and play the game. Didn't think we had great stamina in terms of being able to play long drives and stay fresh. It was a little bit warm out there, but it was predicted to be even warmer this week. So we had to do a really good job of being the best conditioned team, and that's important.
Kirby, with a quarterback that can run like Gunner and more, I guess, parity, we've seen in college football, we have a couple of fourth down conversions, and even across college football, we're seeing more of that. Do you think that's going to be a trend as offenses going four downs more often now with the parity and more mobile quarterbacks?
I don't know that there's a correlation between offenses going for it more often because of mobile quarterbacks. I don't see the correlation there. I think people are going for it more on fourth down based on analytics. I don't think it's a matter of who the quarterback is. I mean, there's been athletic quarterbacks for a long time in college football. What does the link between parity and mobile quarterbacks have? I don't know what you're suggesting when you say there's more parity, so there's more athletic quarterbacks.
Well, I'm saying just the combination of those two things, more parity, closer games, taking advantage of your downs, and then mobile quarterbacks being that extra guy on offense for defense.
If that was the case, then you would think there's a lot more scoring, right? I agree with you. More people are going for it on fourth, but doesn't seem like scoring was up, at least in week one. If anything, it was down. So maybe those going for it didn't work. Maybe they're not happening at the same success rate. I think defenses are going to adapt to the analytics, and people are going for it more often, and they're playing you differently in those situations than maybe they have in the past. But there probably is more parity, and there's definitely people going for it more often.
Yeah, after looking at the film from Saturday, what'd you think of how Daniel and Ellis played a corner with Dalen out both in coverage and coming up and defending the run?
Well, we talked a long time about process over results, and that's probably the message that goes to every position group, not directed at them, but did they do the process right? Were their eyes in the right spot? Did they play with the correct leverage? Did they play the right technique? And there were a lot of those things we didn't do right. The results were fine, right? But they didn't do the process right, and we're really trying to hone in on not results. It doesn't matter how it came out. It matters, did you go about it the right way? And we didn't do that a lot at a lot of positions in terms of process.
Yeah, how are Juan and Ernest doing in their recovery, and what kind of injury is Dalen Everett dealing with?
Dalen Everett is dealing with an ankle injury and seems to be doing well. Was able to run and do some things yesterday, and should be able to crank it back up today and do more. Juan and EG we're hopeful to get both those guys back this week, but only time will tell.
Coach, speaking of Ellis, what have you seen and how far has he come over the last year in terms of being able to make a significant impact on the backfield?
Well, he's improved his stamina first and foremost. He can finish practices and get through practice and keep up with the pace of the practice is really high. So his ability to maintain that, compete and run with receivers, play after play, and play in fastball circumstances, he's done a good job doing that. He's always been very talented at covering people. There's so much more that goes into playing defensive back and playing corner specifically than just being able to cover people in terms of zones, checks, eyes, motions, adjustments. He has bought into that He said, you know what, that's important. If that's what's keeping me off the field, then I want to work on that. So his communication, his understanding of the defense has been really good. Tackling and physicality is always important at corner, and he's not a guy that's afraid of it. You know, he has to play big on blocks a lot of times, but he's not afraid of contact.
Austin Peay did a really good job Saturday of shutting down the MTSU offense. What sort of stands out to you about their style of defense and what was so effective over the weekend? Twitchy,
Quick, disruptive, keep you off balance. You know, the defense coordinator was at Tennessee Tech last year. He does a great job. They have, you know, guys that run to the ball really well, disruptive inside. They understand their job and their gaps. It's not as simple as just walking out there and saying, okay, well, you got bigger and supposedly better players than these guys, just go run all over them. It's not that simple. These guys are disruptive in what they do. They're tied together. They play really hard, and you know, I feel everybody effort counts twice. If you play with great effort, it's worth double the value.
Kirby, speaking of the running quarterback question, there were a lot of like big running performances by quarterbacks this past weekend. Obviously, Gunnar can. You're right. There's been athletic quarterbacks in football for a long time, but in recruiting, are you seeing more quarterbacks that really can do both well? And as a defensive guy, how hard is it to stop a quarterback who truly is two-dimensional?
Yeah, I mean, it's to the degree of what you're calling them two-dimensional. I think there's degrees, right? You think of the greatest running quarterback you've ever seen on a scale of 1 to 10. If that greatest running quarterback is a 10, where is he on the throwing element? You know, the ability to be a great thrower and a pocket passer. Those two are not mutually exclusive. But for the most part, when you're good at one, you don't get a lot of work at the other because you spend some of your time doing both. And I think looking across high school football, our game feeds up from them just like we feed up to the pros. And you know, the pro teams we've talked to in off season and everything else, our game is creeping up to them. The high school game creeps up to us. And what do you see across high school football? You see more and more athletic QBs, guys that, shoot, I always say 20 years ago, 30 years ago, some of those guys might have been tailbacks. You know, not because they should have been, but that's just what the football was. And now they got the ball in their hand every play, and they can make throws, not make throws. Josh Allen or any of these guys you can mention that they can also take off and run and hurt you and beat you in the pocket. So, I mean, I think we're seeing that evolution, but I think it's just more what high school is feeding to us in terms of the guys that are available and the guys that play well.
Yeah, you talked about Dwight a little bit the other night, but what has his progression been like over the past year or so as he's worked to become, you know, more of a complete running back?
Well, his progression has been weight room, develop, grow, protect the ball, get bigger, get stronger. He needed the weight room really bad when he got here. He had never really been in a hardcore weightlifting off-season program. If you remember, he didn't get the spring before his freshman year, so his first true developmental off-season was to be here and lift and get after it, and he did those things. He still is a work in progress. He knows he has areas he has to improve on. But the great thing about Dwight Peanut is that he's not afraid of the hard work. He embraces what his weaknesses are, and he's trying to get better at those.
After watching the tape, Kirby, what did you see from your safeties? Did any of them impress you doing what they were supposed to do, picking up where, you know, having their eyes in the right spot and picking up their cues?
Yeah, I thought those guys, those 5 guys that played back there did a nice job, continue to improve. They didn't get tested probably as much as they get tested in practice. Like I told you guys, there's a bunch of opportunities to get better, and one of them is today. And those guys will go out and compete and continue to develop and get better by the drills we put them in and the competition they have. But you know, Saturday they did what they were supposed to do. Didn't get a lot of opportunities.
Don't think we saw Roderick on Saturday. Just how's he doing?
Yeah, he's dealing with a little bit of a hamstring, and he was going to try to go Saturday if he could, and it was one of those deals that we didn't want to press it once we got out ahead, and he's continuing to rehab, get better, come off of his, he had an ankle surgery as well, and get comfortable with that.
Yeah, Saturday was the first chance to get to see Ryan Puglisi playing game action. What did you make of him, and how valuable were those reps for him as he continues to develop?
Yeah, that's what we've seen really in camp practices with him. He does a nice job in the pocket. He's got really good arm talent. He understands the game. He's taking more and more reps. I think the plays that were called with him in there, he's very comfortable with, and he does a good job. When given the opportunity, we're going to continue to develop him and develop Ryan Montgomery as well as the other two guys.
Kirby, how important do you think it is to the defense to create turnovers? Some of your best teams were not highly ranked nationally for takeaways, but still were top defenses.
Yeah, it's critical. It's really important. We just haven't found a way to be dominant at it. I don't know whether it affects us, whether teams protect the ball better against us, take less chances, or we just don't get them out. It's not something we don't preach and sell and attack and try to do. But historically, at least since we've been here, we have not been elite at that. And it's one of the things that popped out at us the other day defensively. We didn't have as many opportunities with 55 plays, but we did take advantage of the ones we had.
Kirby, again, after film review, what are the next steps for Gunner in his progression? I mean, that was only his second career start.
Next step is to continue to gain confidence in trusting his offensive line for play action, shot plays, 2 minutes before the half. I thought he did an excellent job of improvising when things weren't there or there was a breakdown. And that was probably the best thing he did was take care of the ball, protect the ball, and make plays with his legs. But he continues to get better. I mean, the next step is play with a little more confidence. I think each time you start playing games, you lose some of that anxiety.
Yeah, Coach, with fire, passion, and energy, is there a way that you guys determine if players showcasing that? Like, is it more of a just when you see it type thing, or is there an analytical system that you guys follow for that?
No analytical system for that. It's an inherent trait that some people have, some people don't, but if they don't have it, we try to expose it and bring it out and highlight it when they do. But there's no statistical trait that we have to measure that.
Coach, when you have two backs as talented as Nate and Dwight, how much does that open up the passing game for Gunner and the rest of the offense?
Yeah, I look at all our backs as really good. I mean, you mentioned Nate and Dwight, but I mean, Chauncey's had a great camp. Bo didn't get a chance to do a lot the other day, but Bo's had a good camp. He's practiced really hard. He's done great. Rod has been there when he's healthy, and then we're hoping to get Josh involved. So depth at back is something you need. Those guys have to contribute on special teams. So if we're able to be successful, and it's not on the backs, your run game is not completely dependent on your backs. It's completely dependent on a lot of other things. But if we continue to do that, it'll definitely complement the passing game.
Yeah, given how successful you guys have been as a program over the years, and the fan turnout is what it was on Saturday, what, if anything, do you think can be done to better incentivize better fan turnout?
Better incentivize? I don't know that you incentivize the turnout. It's not, I don't really believe in incentivizing things. I think it has to be a core DNA trait, a belief. When we sell things, it's I will do this if you do this, and incentivize. I don't think that's great motivation. I think it's intrinsic in who you are. I think people should love to be at a Georgia home game because there's only so many of them. It's limited opportunities. It's the same thing about our players. We don't incentivize them to run to the ball by saying we'll go up in your NIL if you run to the ball. You got to do it because you want to be great. You got to do it because you want to be different. And if our fans want to be great and different, then they'll do it.
In what areas, Coach, do you want to see Georgia improve from game 1 to game 2?
A lot of areas. It's hard to pinpoint one. I talked about it in the beginning, process over results. So the process of playing your position efficiently and effectively, regardless of who is across from you, is what I want to see. So what improvement? The process over the result.
Kirby, I know that by the fourth quarter, a lot of your starters were out, but you had a shutout going, and I wonder, you talk about goals. I mean, how big of a deal is that to lose a shutout, and just how much time do you pour over that fourth quarter with some of those guys that could be next up?
Yeah, I learned a long time ago. I've never been into stats here. Like, we don't do that. We play more players when the game's in hand than probably anybody in the country. I don't. I think of those opportunities as development opportunities. It's why we've been really one of the better programs at turning players over in terms of what we put into the draft and lost early outs and having someone ready to go. I think that's number one, we develop and recruit. Number two, we practice our guys more as 2s and 3s. And number three, when they get an opportunity to go in the game, which we didn't last year, but in years past we put them in the game. If it cost us a shutout, then that's a great lesson learned. I'd much rather that kid cost me a shutout in that game than him cost me a touchdown a year later in an SEC game. And we've just erred on that side.
With Brett Thorson, is it a matter of him being able to make a tackle, in the course of a game? Is that what's putting him back, or is he kind of progressed to that level?
Yeah, that's what we talked about last time. I think Mark was like, he's got to be cleared by the medical staff, and he's close to being able to do that. But that's a measure. It's hard measurement. You know what I mean? Like, I hope he doesn't have to make a tackle. That's the hope. But he does have to be cleared.
Coach asked about Michael Mark, I think was talking about club on his hand the other day. How close is he to maybe getting rid of that moving forward?
I'm not sure of the timeline on that. He has the option of a hand cast with fingers out that he was not as comfortable with, that he may be moving to. Kyron's dealing with the same thing. But I can't answer that. I don't know when he's going to be able to be out of the complete club.
Time for one more question, Rod? Coach, can you give us a little more detail on what Gaston and Green are dealing with, kind of the nature of those injuries?
Yeah, both of them lower extremity injuries. Thanks.